resolving misunderstanding and conflicts. The nature of material world, problems will be there. As all of you are aware, Prabhupada says, no one goes in the forest to cause the forest fire. By the wind, the bamboos get rubbed and samsara, dava, and all. So, it happens without a cause because of the modes of nature, different conditions that we all have. And like Maharaj, Radha Swami Maharaj made a very interesting answer to Anand Vrindavan Prabhu. He said, so in essence you are asking, why am I not a Paramahamsa? Because only Paramahamsas will not have issues. It is foolish to think issues will not come. In fact, I think, have I written that? Yes. Maharaj made a very interesting, His Holiness Radha Swami Maharaj made an interesting statement. He said that the maturity of a congregation is to be judged not by the fact that conflicts don't arise, but by how they are dealt with when they arise. Conflicts will come. We are all conditioned souls at different levels of conditioning and evolving. And some mistakes will happen, some callousness may be there, some issues may come up. We need to deal with it and move forward. That is why whole Bhagavatam is all about that. Why speaking about Shaubri Muni? Why speaking about Vishwamitra? These are not simply to discuss in the philosophy class. These are realities. How Daksha Prajapati got evolved, envious, and started, critical about Shivji. How Parvati became very disturbed. All these things are there in the Bhagavatam. What to speak of all of us. We are not like so distinguished as Gajendras. As Radha Swami made a statement this morning. But a crocodile is waiting for all of us. These are the crocodiles also, Samartha. Let us discuss. One of the responsibilities of the preacher is his response ability when there are misunderstanding and conflicts, small or big. Your maturity is judged by how you respond to a situation. As Prabhupada tells in the 10th canto Srimad Bhagavatam, 89th chapter, Bhrigu Muni trying to find out who amongst the three devatas are the highest. One's greatness is estimated by one's ability to tolerate provoking situations. So sometimes this misunderstanding provoke me. I have given my life's energy and you people are doubting my integrity. This is extremely painful. When a person who has given his life's energy is doubted about some basic, some small things. But the principle is there. If transparency is not there, issues will come. This is Kali Yuga. So therefore, putting systems in place, putting training in place, we can avoid so much of unnecessary problems. Maturity in dealing with misunderstandings and conflicts is what puts the preacher higher than how common people would deal with such things. Common people, those who do not have this knowledge, may respond in a different way. But if you are supposed to be well versed with the philosophy, if you are supposed to be practitioners of philosophy, and if you also respond in the same way for these issues as anyone else would do, then what's the difference? This is the conclusion reached by the people who are watching. I give this example. The first time one devotee came to our Vrindavan Yatra, there was in charge of a bus, and the bus authority told them, come on, move the bus to 2 kilometers away. And the bus sevak had to move it, and the counselor, his own counselor, senior counselor, very senior counselor, was a little far away, he was running and coming. And this person he's telling, wait. And this person is saying, move the bus, come on, move the bus. So poor bus sevak, he said, chalo again. And the counselor had to take a rickshaw and come 2 kilometers away to get into the bus. And just before that time, this person who had brought the newcomer was telling, हमारे कॉन्ग्रेगेशन में बहुत प्रेम और आपस में बहुत प्रेम और ये आदान प्रदान होता है. And this counselor came and started blasting the bus saver. The bus saver, भाई क्या करो? He also got it. And then they know, तो my started. And this newcomer is looking at him. प्रेम का वार्तालाप हो रहा है. And then they went to Bilbo 1 around 6 p.m. Then they entered inside. Lecture went on till 9 p.m. and then they came back. 9 p.m. 10 p.m. they entered the bus, which was walking through the dark forest. And then the newcomer again saw the counselor and the bus saver, this time literally having wrestling. He was extremely disturbed. क्या हो रहा है? This is हद हो गया है. But when he came closer, he saw each one was trying to take the dust from the other's feet. प्रोजी मेरी गलती हो गई, आप मेरी गलती नहीं तुम्हारी नहीं, मेरी गलती, मेरे को समझना था, वो अपना काम कर रहा was that. So then the newcomer told this person who had brought him, he said, ये शाम का जो सीन मैंने देखा ना, ये पूरी दुनिया में मैं देखता हूँ. ये रात का जो सीन मैं देखा ना, ये केवल इस्कॉन में देख रहा हूँ. So, if we are so equipped and so much well-versed with philosophy, if it hasn't brought about some change in terms of our response to how we deal with situation, then what is the point in speaking philosophy? Okay, 3 steps of resolving conflicts. One is reception of the problem, identifying the problem early. The earlier we identify and address it, sometimes we feel it will go away. चुपचाप आँख बंद करके देखते हो, अपने आप चला जाएगा, सब सुधर जाएगा. But sometimes if the issue is you see potentially it can lead to something, at least it must be identified and addressed. The earlier we put off. Chanakya Pandit says, fire, death and disease. Immediately it has to be addressed, otherwise it can destroy. So we can put conflicts first. Earlier the better dealt with. At least gossips, rumors, personal opinions worsen the problem, so they should be contained. Don't at least, start speaking everywhere except where it should be spoken. To whom it should be spoken. Rather than that, तुला माहिती है ते काय केला? जी मालूम उसने क्या किया? ऐसा किया. ऐसे कैसे करते हैं? You're speaking to everyone except the authorities to whom it can be spoken and can be addressed. At least that should be avoided. Discuss confidentially with the preaching team. Actually, the team can be discussed if certain issues are there. Because sometimes maybe one of the team members also involved. So it must be discussed in a very proper way, proper forum. Chalk down immediate steps for rectification. Note down the lessons learned and how to avoid repetition of the problem. Providing a solution, a good balance of courage and sensitivity is required while working out presenting the solution. The courage to deal with it, address that, and the sensitivity to know how, when, and to what extent how it should be dealt with. Of course, thanks to this local congregation development department, one aspect, CDD has 3 functions. The first function is identifying and encouraging. Identifying talents, identifying people, identifying places, identifying creative ways of preaching, and encouraging those people who have the capability, potential to take up that responsibility. Second part is training and education, which is beginning now. Most of you are expected to take this to your preaching, wherever preaching teams are there. Many of may not have come. Especially the preachers could actually take this. When I say preachers here, the brahmachari preachers or the senior congregation preachers could actually do it to all of the congregation in your respective region, training and education. Because we are giving responsibility without telling them what is expected of them, it's not good. And then addressing and resolving any issues that come up in terms of relationships, in terms of finance, in terms of dealings, whatever it is. At least at a proper forum it must be discussed quickly and clarified at least, so that it is not causing more damage than it should. So, what is the courage? Speaking or doing what is needed to best address the situation from a Krishna conscious perspective. And sensitivity. Is this the right way to speak? Is this the right time to speak? Is this the right situation? Is this the right forum to speak? You know? That is sensitivity, that is maturity. A balance of courage and sensitivity is maturity. Alright. So next. So in conclusion, in terms of the first part of dealing with devotees in the congregation, the summary, number 1, use hands effectively. What is that? Understand roles of a preacher and manager and counselor. When I say preacher, not just preacher, person who is preaching, all of these are preaching team. A preacher, manager, counselor, or a cultivator. And delegate tasks and empower others in due course of time. At an appropriate time, empower them. If you really want to expand the whole preaching effort. Use heart effectively. How? Maintain simultaneously the 3 modes of a servant, mother and team player. And use head effectively, which means provide a stronger connect, that means broaden their connectivity to the whole family of devotees, to the community, to the temple, to other preachers, whatever it is. Broaden that base and simultaneously resolve misunderstandings with sensitivity and intelligence and courage. Do the needful, whatever it takes to deal with it. So this in essence is the first part. Now we will move a little quicker because we need to deal with 5 more things, and we want to finish by 5 so that we will have time for questions. So if you have any questions, just write it down in the corner, and of course at the end of each session also we will try to take, but we will now a little bit quickly try to move forward because for each I can give several examples. It may run for 1 hour easily. Each of the slides we can speak so many examples. All these things have come because there were some incidents happened. None of us thought about all these things, but incidents happened which made us realize we need to put this as a policy or as a guideline, as a principle. So dealing with fellow preachers. Fellow preachers means for a person who is speaking the philosophy, the manager and the cultivator, counselor, congregation, or some other preachers who are going to be coming and broadening the connect we need to have. How to do that? So we have 4 things to do that. Number 1, meaning, need and benefits of a preaching team, working cohesively within a team with other teams, and the tested principles that ensure team success, and advanced tricks of the mind for advanced preachers. His Holiness Radha Swami Maharaj said, generally when we in the Jagannath Puri, Shamananda Prabhu was telling, don't go too deep into the ocean because this ocean is very rough. So at that time Maharaj said, generally those who don't know swimming never drown. Those who know very good swimming never drown. Then who drowns? Those who don't know swimming and think they know very good swimming, they drown. So this section is for advanced tricks of the mind, for advanced teachers. or advanced managers or cultivators. Okay. It's a very beautiful proverb, African proverb, which J.R.D. Tata, Ratan Tata also quotes. If you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. How important, if you want to go far, if you want to make this preaching and this community sustainable and progressive, we need to address it together. Single-handedly it is not possible. Krishna can handle the whole creation, he can run single-handedly. But he has a full team, 33 crore team members. And everyone is delegated with various types of power. And everyone feels that, he makes it look that, I need you people. And when big problems come, everyone knows they need him. Such an amazing, he's the best leader. Eko bahunam yo vidadhati kama. He's showing how, as a team spirit, one has to. He never interferes. Till they come with an issue, then he interferes. And when he does a thorough job. As I said, it takes a village to raise a child. To make one devotee, it takes so much effort, so much team effort to actually move forward. Okay, so the ideal combination to develop every individual who has somehow or other Brahmanda Brahmite has stumbled into the right place in a preaching program of ISKCON. Now it is our responsibility. We should not become the cause for his walking away from that Sangha. So therefore, the combination is, there are caregivers, there are cultivators, there are managers and preacher. Caregiver meaning larger responsibility, longer like a counselor, and the cultivator is more immediate person who immediately kind of deals with it. That also is subtly differentiated here. So he impregnates and penetrates to inspire people to come, and after they come, the managers make sure that they get good experience, and then the cultivators are actually making sure that they feel at home, they feel connected, and then move forward, properly guiding. That is done by the caregivers. So these are the responsibilities. Inspirational leader sharing principle from Guru, Sadhu and Shastra. Then caregivers are the senior grahastha couples assisting the preacher in giving care to the congregation, inspiring by personal example and providing feedback to preacher when needed. This is also very important. Feedback to the preacher when needed, especially when a preacher is like me. I had the good fortune of having my god brothers and god sisters who did not hesitate after the program to come to me and lovingly chastise me. प्रभु आप बहुत अच्छा क्लास दिए, पर टाइम पे खत्म करो. Very lovingly, प्रभु आपको समझ में नहीं आता है, ये लोग कोई नवी मुंबई से आ रहा है, कोई इधर से आ रहा है, कोई इधर से आ रहा है. Very difficult for them. Or tomorrow is a working day. So lovingly, so respectfully, and so gently, but so firmly, knowing that this is what works. How I had responded would have made a big difference. Permanently stop them from giving feedback or feel confidence to come and chastise also. I felt it was my good fortune that I had my god brothers and god sisters equal who can actually And they were so cultured that they did it in such a nice way. I owe my survival in congregation preaching for whatever little has happened because of the training that His Holiness Radha Swami Maharaj gave us to the brahmacharis. He drilled in us that unless you respect the congregation members as your parents, you will become proud and it will not be good for you. And when he would meet the congregation people, he said, you are with your family, but they have left everything and come here and serving. If you don't properly respect them, then you will not make proper progress. It's not about the person, it's just this, what they stand for. In this way, he created a very, very mutual interdependence and of respect and appreciation for each one's unique contribution in the preaching effort. Cultivators, assisting the preacher in cultivation through guest reception, follow-up, and things like that. And then the managers, devotees from the congregation, managing the program, festivals, yatras. No? So this is like a core team member should have all of these kind of people. And mutual cooperation is truly a great inspiring factor. Really what transforms a person and makes that person stay with the community for a longer time is when he sees very sweet, loving relationship amongst the people in the leadership position. His Holiness Radha Maharaj made a very interesting statement. He said, powerful lectures, beautiful deity worship, sumptuous and tasty prasadam, ecstatic kirtans will attract people to come to the temple. But loving relationships amongst devotees will keep them in the long run. Srila Prabhupada mentions in NOI 6 loving principles, Dadati Pratigranati, Priti Lakshanam. He says, this movement was started single-handedly, but it is expanding all over the world just because of the 6 loving exchanges. Because people, the soul, in the core are looking for love, to give love and to accept love. Actually what sustains people in the long run is true love. Selfless, extending love. And we can become give unlimited eternal love. But we can become an instrument of that love of Krishna by becoming a transparent via media. By Pranadapi Sunichena Tarori Vasaishnuna Amanina Manade. And that love sustains people in the long run. Everything else is a detail. Philosophy or everything is a detail. But that's available everywhere. And that love, as Prabhupada said, your love will be shown by how you cooperate with each other to push on this mission. So that's the practical application. Battery हो गया है. And the cooperation within this team, the team of preachers, caregivers, cultivators and managers. Cooperation with other preaching programs. This is about one preaching program. But people are not fools. They actually see how you are able to relate with the whole community of the same organization. So other preaching programs. How? Celebrating, sometimes you could have how to celebrate festivals together. It saves money, it saves a lot of effort, offers so much opportunity to do some seva. Simultaneously, it connects to the larger family. You're amazed, oh, these kind of people are also, oh, these kind of people are also coming here. Wonderful, such an amazing. We have a big, large family of devotees. So sometimes we could celebrate festivals together. That has a very special effect in terms of inspiring people. Visiting dhams together, different groups, but they are coming together. They are living together to close to each other on those few days. We used to earlier have this, all the mentors, along with their mentees, going for dham yatras together. So that could be, at least in the region wise, it becomes too unwieldy, the number. In the region wise it can be done. Sharing resources. In some, there are a lot of singers or musicians. In some places there are a lot of preachers. So sharing of resources, articles, manpower, this shows that, we are not angry, we are trying to assist each other. Sharing best practices, oh, this worked, why don't you try this? Which really is helpful. The time-tested principle that actually ensures. Page number 24, right? Okay. Can someone read that? Page number 24. The tested principles that ensure team success.
Team creation to be done proactively, not after things start going wrong.
Yeah. Unfortunately, this CDD is being established reactively. This should have been established decades ago, many years ago. But now we are strongly recommending that as soon as the preaching program comes to a particular level, somebody should take the initiative. Ideally, generally the person who is presenting the philosophy, preacher, should take the initiative to actually create a team and empower them also and become a part of that team. Yeah.
The team should ideally comprise of equals. That means the preaching team should comprise of equals, not yes men who can provide constructive feedback.
I would like to share with you, there was one issue that was coming up about some particular congregation program. So I talked with His Holiness Radha Swami Maharaj, and I was telling that this is about a satellite center, and I was telling Maharaj, here is the main preacher who goes and preaches in that place, and he has created a team and whom he has preached. So I told him that I went and told them that you have to be equal. If there are 5 of you, each of you have 20% of your weightage in your opinion. And then Maharaj made a very interesting statement. He said, whatever you say, if the preacher is the one who has cultivated everyone, he will have 80, he is a veto vote. It's natural, because people who have been trained, they look up to that person. Then he made a very interesting statement. He said, he should work equal with that team by working under them in spirit. What he meant was, that is how we have to empower. When that ordinary person comes and tells Srila Prabhupada, Swamiji, we are selling this pamphlets, why don't you put it and make it into a book? My Guru Maharaj is speaking through you. One time here in the Sunday feast, long line was there. And one newcomer in the Sunday feast program, he said, Maharaj, idhar aao. ये इतना लंबा लाइन क्यों है? ये 4 टेबल लगाओ ना, फटाफट खत्म हो जाएगा. That was some festival, big festival. तो बूढ़े बूढ़े लोग भी लाइन में खड़े. अब कैसा? I could have said, तुझे मालूम है कितने साल से आया हूँ, कब आया, मैंने ज्वाइन किया, कितने साल से मैं 16 माला जप करता हूँ. I said, it makes sense. And we made the proposal. A little difficult, 4 bucket, 4 table, 4 ये सब करना. But at one time we had decided, nobody should wait in the queue more than 10 minutes max. And Varisht Vaishnav, go first and get it. And this was given not by any other senior devotees. Out of their humility, they were standing in the queue. A newcomer said, "You itna lamba line chart group bana." So sometimes, in practical way of life, anyone can give that suggestion to efficient function. Yes, sir.
Decision should be arrived at after consultation and consent of all team members.
इसमें one thing that happens is when it is consent of all the members, everyone feels a sense of involvement in that decision. And they also put their heart, and everyone is feeling empowered. And many a time it may happen that the person who is actually heading the whole thing may come together and reject that, and say it's all right. Don't be attached to your opinion being executed. Sometimes people become attached. Their opinion is like child. ये मेरा बच्चा है ना, नहीं ये काला कलूटा है तो क्या हुआ, मेरा बच्चा है. So sometimes people may become attached to their opinion, and their opinion being discarded feels that I have been discarded. No, your opinion may not be. I respect you, but not your opinion right now in this issue. Make it positive. No team member should try to gain power control of the congregation by trying to influence them through speech, exercising exclusive control of money, manpower, or other sources. Groupisms, politics, favoritism should be avoided on the basis of factors like language, caste, social, financial status, education, background. अरे सब माताजी लोग ऐसे ही हैं. One statement, you are dividing the congregation in two. अरे ये सब गरीब लोगों के प्रति ऐसा करते हैं. Finish. ये सब भैया लोग ऐसे ही हैं. That means north and south. Whatever, one statement like that, generalizing, over-generalizing, immediately creates subtle groupism. For different groups, different needs may be given. But to generally make that statement based on very, very loose statements can create a lot of, and the team spirit is broken. Even in case of disagreements, difference of opinion, the same should never be visible before the congregation, individually and collectively, in the form of verbal arguments or public criticism of the other team members. Neither should there be an endeavor to enforce the congregation members to take sides. Especially in the team, if there are two people taking two sides, and the congregation divides. Because every team member is looked up as a leader. And that can be instantly creating rift in the congregation. So therefore it is such a responsible thing to be cautious of these things. Any such issues should be resolved amicably and confidentially within the team in a civilized and mature way. Failure to do so will only ruin the faith of the congregation members. They then won't see how the world here is any different from the world outside. These are common sense, but uncommonly found in the material world. But very easily possible in the Vaishnava society if judiciously and conscientiously and consciously applied. So be proactive in creating your team, and the decision only after consultation and consent of all team members. This is how we actually empower them. Resolve differences privately and maturely, not openly in public forum or through WhatsApp group. The whole group is watching and blasting each other. It's really, it's like fighting the public forum, right? On the stage you're coming and fighting. It creates a very bad example. Advanced trick for the mind for advanced preachers. Two things. Why we are calling it advanced? Because unless you are very cautious, you can't even judge it's a problem. It is seen as a strength. When you think your weakness to be your strength, that means it is an advanced trick of Maya. And two of them that are identified, because these are very subtle and they are deeper ones and difficult to detect. And the two of them are superior mentality and competitive mentality. Very subtly it comes. Very subtle. What is the superiority complex? Thinking or indicating directly, subtly oneself as being superior. Being pushy about the opinion being executed. What do you guys know? Huh? You know who I am? I am giving you an opinion. Could be in terms of number of programs conducted, contribution, devotees brought into Krishna consciousness, seniority, nature of services rendered. Subtly it comes. Very subtle. Observing Vaishnava etiquettes, especially respecting other devotees, helps remove this weed. How? Very subtle. Acknowledging presence of or seeking permission from or welcoming senior devotees when they happen to come to the program. You know, if they have happened to come to the program, you notice it. If you see His Holiness Radha Swami Maharaj, whenever his godbrothers, today also because His Holiness Jayadeva Swami Maharaj was there, twice or thrice he mentioned something that he had mentioned, his presence there, and subtly, he is glancing upon all of us, showing that respect very clearly, and that speaks a lot in and of itself, without even speaking about it. This etiquette is taught. Acknowledging, appreciating, and glorifying. Competitive mentality, showcasing one's achievement or position in relation to other preachers on the basis of number of weekly engagements, topics, program attendance, devotional level of respective audience, may result in boasting and highlighting one's managerial position post in the larger congregation, saying negative things about fellow preachers. And of course, how to overcome that on a proactive note, the principle of encouraging and appreciating. There was one devotee who was sent along with his godbrother, but this person constantly would subtly not give him any, important preaching kind of thing, and to others telling, ठीक है, मैं जब नहीं रहूँगा, in case कुछ नहीं है तो तुम उसको बुला दो. Subtly indicating that, I have experience. He can also come whenever I am not there or something like that. So, who was supposed to be actually equal to him or even senior to him by one level. And eventually, that person he said, I don't want to go again. I'm not inspired because I feel sidelined and I don't feel wanted. I don't feel wanted. The whole purpose of sending was for protection in terms of sharing, but that did happen. So these are very, very subtle kind of things. Alright, any questions? One question regarding what we have spoken post lunch till here. Question is, why don't you proceed further and end early? Alright. So we move to the next factor. Vitamin M. So, dealing with money, we are covering few topics. A subtle security provider, historical traps and tragedies within ISKCON can ruin or run the show. The safety vault. Okay, a subtle security provider. It's a fact. Na bibi, na bacha, na baap bada, na maiya. Whole thing is that sabse bada rupaiya. This is a very ancient body. When money talks, everyone walks. It is a fact. This program would not have been possible without one of the factors, important factors. So, it is a fact, but at the same time, it's Lakshmi. But she can become Chanchala. She can become, on the chest of the Lord Vishnu, she is like a decoration, Srivatsa. But with Ravan, she became the cause of his downfall. So, in the material world, the spirit soul is eternal, but the material body and its facilities are temporary. When we take shelter of that, then issue starts. Sada samudvigna dhyam asatgrahat. Allah told Hiranyakashipu, my dear father, you have everything. You have power, you have everything. You are controlling the whole universe. But sada samudvigna dhyam. You are in anxiety because asatgrahat. You are taking shelter of that power as all in all. No, devotion is all in all. That's eternal, not this. So when we use that as a facility, as a security provider, that causes the issue. It subtly provides a sense of security by promising to purchase all varieties of facilities and comforts. Provides a subtle confidence that I can achieve my dreams if I have money, power. So that's the nature. Historical traps and tragedies. I don't want to go into detail, but I can tell you several very, very senior people fell prey with best intentions. They fell prey to make, in terms of quick money, doing something in such a way so that preaching can go on in a big way. They put this as a priority and quickly trying to make it in some way, invest it in some way and try to do it in some way, or getting in the relationship involved with money matters. And it has caused so much distrust amongst devotees. It has caused so much of distrust in the process of bhakti. People have left. At one time, this multi-level marketing came into our temple. There's Amway. And instead of counseling meeting, there was Krishna conscious, we became Amway conscious. So each one was utilizing his position, some of them of course. That counseling meeting became, तेरा कितना हो गया, उतने लोगों को भेज देने का, बुलाने का, ये खरीद लेना, बहुत अच्छा साबुन है, ये ले लेना. The product they were selling, of course, it was not good. That's what's going on. It became so much, and it's so much ill feelings amongst devotees and loss of faith that eventually put our foot down and they said, no one should be discussing, no one should be dealing in devotee contacts. They should not be using devotee contacts for these kind of, मैं 6 member बनाया, तू 6 member बना और से 36,000 member बन जाएंगे ना, तो तेरे को हर रोज 36,000 रुपया मिलते रहेगा, बैठे. And what better contacts than devotee circle? Especially if you are a counselor. Counselor को बोला, सर्वधर्मान परित्यज्य. Of course, I am joking. Basically, what I meant is they could utilize this, and that causes, based on that, devotee ने बोला है, senior devotee ने बोला है. So they start mixing up these issues. Another very, very big, the people were not there, and a huge project, they wanted to buy a whole place. And lakhs of rupees was invested by borrowing here and there. And then, because of some misunderstanding and issues, things not being paid, relationships between the senior leaders was strained. And practically the congregation became divided into two halves, some supporting this person, some supporting that person. So it can lead to so much of, or one devotee said, okay, at a cheap price I will get tickets for you. Recently it also happened. So many people got very disturbed, relationship got strained. Things like that. So regarding money matters, one has to be really very careful. I would like at this stage to call upon Keshav Chandra Prabhu, our financial consultant, cashier, accountant, CA, always reading CC and SD. Can someone get a chair here? नहीं, इधर बैठो ना, थोड़ा कंपनी दो बाबा मेरे को. I am feeling lonely, team member. Two sides of the table will be balanced now.
So,
Yeah, this part Prabhuji will be dealing. Okay, you can deal with it.
so as Prabhuji has already explained what are the pitfalls, so and many of us know it very well also. So we can consider see that what is the safety net which can be available for us, how we can actually ensure that we do not, as Prabhuji had explained, that it is Lakshmi, it is Krishna's energy, it can be used in the service of the Lord. At the same time, it's like a double-edged sword. If it is not used properly, then it could actually hurt us. So, some of the things which we can, some of the housekeeping which we can do, which can ensure us that we can actually use this properly, is that we could maintain good transparency in all our dealings, especially money matters, and that can actually help. So as preachers, as management committee members, the one very important reason of creating the management committee is that the financial matters are distributed, and it's not that only one person is handling all the finances, and proper detailed records are maintained of all the income, whatever donation is getting collected. As part of the Radha Gopinath finance committee, also some time back we had had a session on financial management for all the congregation programs, and in that we had discussed what are the systems which you could follow in a decentralized basis. It's not that the temple wants to have full control on how you are raising funds, how you are making the expenses. We don't want to do that. We want to give you, but for your own benefit, if you maintain proper transparency, keep proper records, then anybody who's attending the congregation programs, he will have full faith on the management committee, and they will have good confidence. So for that we can maintain, and also accountability, that we follow the guidelines which are given recommended by the finance committee, and also we could have we had mentioned about regular audits by third parties. So for that also, it's not that you need to get a chartered accountant or anything. Maybe once a year also, if proper, we could have a few devotees who are qualified people who can come and certify that okay, records are all maintained properly, and whoever from devotees from whom we are collecting donations, if we maintain proper records, then they, if required, we could share with them also with a very open heart. And third is, after accountability, we should have proper planning also. So finance matters, just like for the preaching program to go ahead, we need to plan our preaching efforts, and in that finance plays a very, very important role. So to plan for the various programs which we are going to have, we need to have budgeting and planning, and this can actually help us, like especially for big programs which are going on. If we have a proper budget, and that budget is discussed once in a year with the management committee, and everybody is on the same page, and based on the recommendations of the management committee, we decide these are the places where we want to make expenses, and it's decided mutually, then things will be well accepted, and it's not based on any one single person's whimsical behavior and all, which can actually lead to problems later on. And fourthly, abstaining from innocent mistakes. Many a times we see, although the intentions, as Prabhuji explained, intentions are very good. All devotees are coming here to participate in Prabhupada's preaching mission, and all of us want to ensure that this preaching mission goes at the fifth gear maybe. But still, in our enthusiasm, many a times some very small mistakes which we may commit. Like when a program begins, somebody is taking full responsibility. I will do this. I will sponsor prasad or this or that. Program when it begins, we are all very enthusiastic. But later on, when devotees start also, they also get inspired. They start sponsoring, or somebody wants to contribute financially, and then when things start growing, then like the entire purpose for which CDD was made. Why? Because as Prabhuji explained, the prachar badh gaya, family has become so big, so now we are facing some issues which needs to be dealt with full maturity. So similarly, in small programs also, in the beginning, everybody has a lot of enthusiasm, but then as days pass and people start contributing, then people start questioning us. So to be able to answer these questions in a proper way, it's important that we ensure that just by maintaining proper records, sharing it with people on a regular basis, maybe once in 6 months or once in a year or like that, we can ensure that everybody is in the same enthusiasm, and we can take the preaching to the highest levels. Otherwise, we know that if we do not do this, then ISKCON as an institution we can face, because whenever we do programs, although we may be doing it in an individual capacity, but when preachers come, when people from the temple come, then everybody identifies this as an ISKCON program, not that somebody's individual program. So people outside we may feel that this is my own program, I am doing everything. But then people identify that, oh no, this is an ISKCON program. So many times when we collect money, people expect that we give them a receipt from the temple. So whenever there are checks issued or anything, so our accounts department in the temple also has taken this responsibility that wherever checks are getting collected nowadays, everything is coming into digital payments and all. So to facilitate that, we have created a system whereby various programs, wherever it is required, wherever you are able to generate cash and you can spend, so then you can have your own freedom. But when it comes to checks and donations, we need to submit it to the accounts department, get a proper receipt. And you'll all be very happy to know that ISKCON Pan India, they have now regularized the format of the receipts and all. It's all getting printed from our ISKCON bureau. And the final, very soon, this Janmashtami we were using our previous stationery, but very soon the new stationery with all, so standardized all over India, the same type of receipts will be issued. So that ISKCON as a letterhead also is standardized, so that as an international society we can have we can follow the principles of branding and all, just to enhance and serve in Prabhupada's mission in a much better way. Yes. And of course, in case if you have any other suggestions or anything, you can always share with us and write to us at cdd.rgm@gmail.com. We will be sharing that later on. And even the accounts format, we have already shared it with all the devotees earlier. We could do it again also if anybody has any doubts about that.
Since it is so rare to see Keshav Chandra Prabhu on the stage on such a platform, we don't want to lose that opportunity before he gets down from the. Of course, he will come at the end. 4 of us will sit. All 6 of us will sit for answering questions. One question, if you have anything, let's utilize this opportunity. Yes. Yeah, Andhra.
Hare Krishna. What is our stake or any protocols to be followed if we are planning a program, especially only for fundraising? Something like we organize a program and temple devotee may be involved, The idea is only fundraising. So what is there any protocol to be followed, or it's left to the individual CDD or congregation to go about?
So if it's a fundraising program, but better is that you can send in a mail, because all the fundraising program, it's never for an individual program itself. So it is for the normally whatever donations we collect, as we had shared earlier also with that funds management, how to be done. So it is for the purposes of the temple's various activities. So based on that, if you have any specific plan to have a fund drive, donation drive, fund collection drive, so then you can send in an email to the finance committee, and then we can seek their approval. But otherwise, normally all programs which are in your means, you have the individual liberty of generating funds for your specific program, and for maybe say book distribution drive or any other Janmashtami fund donation and all. But in case you have something specific in mind which is different from these purposes, then it's better that we seek the approval of the finance committee. So you can write in a mail. Yes.
Yeah. My experience is so good with the accounts department, but my one suggestion is, when the brahmacharis or the team goes for CC, recently it happened that His Grace Gaurang Prabhu was giving all the three, but the CC, Adi Leela, that is Madhya Leela and all those things. So I found from the department, no one was there of that caliber of viewers who can approve our bills, etc. So it keeps pending. Now what happens is, for the congregation, we put money upfront. Then we take the fund from you. Okay? Now, secondly, during Yatra also, 15 days, 20 days go away, and only the, bare minimum employees are there in the department. Now, you would say that from there we can approve and all those things. Suppose we went to last time Vrindavan. Yeah, that is okay, that is good. But you must see to it that, my humble request is, from this one, when we do the submission and when all the requirements of viewers we have met, nowadays things are getting very nicely, standardized. And Vishwambar told me, when you keep the bills also, small bill should come upside, front, then followed by the bigger one, like that. So we organize everything so nicely and give it to them, so that the delay is not there from our end and from your end also. And I do agree, you are under a lot of pressure because you have to handle various things. My humble request is, since we have to put the money also up front and wait for it and get it, then again go for it. So if you can clear a little bit faster, subject to all the, your
Due diligence.
Huh?
Subject to due
Yeah,
diligence.
due diligence and all those
exactly.
things.
So
Yeah.
we
So if that part can be taken care of, things can move very fast.
100% we will accept your proposal, and we will try to make it more efficient. As we mentioned, we have already made things online, so that approvals, it need not that be dependent on the physical presence of a person, but we will also improve further.
And at this point of time, I want to congratulate Park Seva as well as accounts. They go very beautifully hand in hand without any problem. And it's a big applause, please. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Keshav Chandra Prabhu. He is Lakshmi Ji's representative in our temple. And his looks is so soothing, and his smile is so pleasing. Actually, I was thinking, if you don't follow this four, then the acronym is PAPA. P-A-P-A. Be ready to face it. And I have seen sincere devotees with genuine intention, but not following certain protocol and certain etiquettes, have been hurt so badly and caused so much of confusion just because of foolishly or innocently, just neglecting and taking these kind of things lightly. So now we move forward to the next thing, and that is dealing with members of the opposite gender. It's all written there. I will not go deep, I will not go too much into detail. You can just kind of go through it. But essentially, in principle, let us not. Here are two things I would like to remember. Personally, one should be true to oneself and take a very, very realistic and humble understanding of one's limits or capacity to actually go ahead, because each one is different, but the scriptures are applicable for everyone. There is no, it's not that gravitational law pulls little more extra for somebody who is little compassionate, and for others it's just 9.8 and 9 instead of 9.2 it becomes 8.6 only. Because एक बेचारा वैष्णव है, इसको धीरे से गिराएंगे नीचे. Doesn't work. It just works as it is. That's one thing. And secondly, also sometimes a preacher knows, and he may do something. If somebody else in the team notices, any one of the members, you feel that person may be a little going overboard, rather than just raising an alarm, better to individually, personally meet and discuss this issue. This is how I feel. I'm just kind of expressing our concern to protect, and and if that person gives a clarification, okay, well and good. But at least everyone should know that give everyone the benefit of doubt for others, but for personal, better be as strict as you can in terms of following. Nobody should think themselves to be exceptional. There are exceptions to the rule. So I won't go much about it because this kind of a culture is already there. And if you notice something, because sometimes people are not educated, they're like fresh people from the outside world, where intermixing is very common, very, very natural. And sometimes, without having invested in them, we start instructing them. Like a new girl was coming to the thing, and she may be wearing a particular type of outfit and closely coming to the preacher and wanting to interact. And suddenly 10 people catch hold of, that person is the last visit. That becomes the last visit of that person. So, we have to be a little sensitive at the same time. So if we notice that, we could discuss it in a proper way, in proper forum. And next, I would like to call upon Baldev Prabhu to give institutional dealings. First, we would like to express to you and explain to you the institutional structure in which each of the ISKCON temples are functioning, different levels of temples, Namhat, pitching center, extension center, temple, full-fledged temple, and all the hierarchy in which this whole organization functions. And then in terms of dealings, how to deal with inter-temple relationships.
Thank you, Prabhu. I remember I was hearing a lecture of one devotee recently. He was mentioning that Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, yes, he is the main founder of the whole Gaudiya Sampradaya, but he hasn't written any much books on his philosophy. But he gave the whole thing in core, in sutra form, in Sikshashtakam prayers, right? And the 8 verses he has summarized the whole Achintya Bhedabheda philosophy. So when I see the slides which are going through since morning, More or less they're all Dhanam, Janam, Sundarim, Kavitam. And you find one verse, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, Na Dhanam, Na Janam, Na Sundarim, Kavitam Vajitari. So time again and again we are reminded about this wonderful principles that how we should be careful about this. I am going to cover something on Janam part now, the institutional dealings. I remember Radha Gopinath was once giving a Bhagavatam class and he was mentioning that one new person had come to temple and must be that some preacher must have met him in the somewhere outside and must have preached him and invited him to temple. So he came, but somehow he forgot the name of the devotee. But he remembered the word Das. Right? आपके मंदिर में वो दास कौन है? प्रभु जी बोले कि हाँ सब दास है. So for a new person, he doesn't know the difference, right? Like one time, some person I met in airport, he somewhere was traveling and he said, I'll come to Mumbai and meet you. So okay, please come to Radha Gopinath temple only. We are in Babulnath, Girgaon Chowpatty. He said, yeah, मुझे सब मालूम है. Then he called me, प्रभु जी मैं आपके मंदिर में आ गया, कहाँ है आप? तो मैंने बोला कि कहाँ है? आप कहाँ हैं? बोला मैं आपके कोर्टयार्ड में खड़ा हूँ. तो मैं कोर्टयार्ड में भी खड़ा हूँ. किधर है? मैं राइट साइड में, भी राइट साइड में खड़ा हूँ. And for half an hour searching where in the courtyard. Then finally asked him, which temple you are talking about? आपका वही टेम्पल है, एक टेम्पल आपका क्या जू में जो टेम्पल है वो बाबा जू में ही चौपाटी में वो है, चौपाटी है बाबूनाथ के बगल में. Then he realized many people do not know. They think that Hare Krishna ISKCON in Mumbai is only Jew temple. We also thought like that when we were not connected to ISKCON. But later as we come, then we realize that now how many temples are there in Mumbai? 4, 5, 6, how many? 4. All of you agree? Unanimously. So the first temple is ISKCON Jew temple, second is ISKCON Chowpatty, third is ISKCON Mira Road, and fourth is ISKCON Kharkar. And the fifth one is under process, ISKCON Thane soon. And apart from that, every temple has their own programs. How many programs we have in our ISKCON Chowpatty? The preaching programs. What is the figure? So Shirama 72 figure? 65, 70 programs happening just to ISKCON Chowpatty. We do not even know what the number of programs happening to ISKCON Juhu or ISKCON Khargar or ISKCON Mira Road. So we are not well informed nonsense, you can say. So anyways, we will be dealing with these 4 things today in our discussion. Okay, is it a familiar place? We are sitting in this hall, right? Gopinath is addressing us. So this is sometimes we are very much, because we are sitting in this hall for the whole day, we are very much aware of this hall. But are you aware of this also? This hall comes in which building? Sharda Mandir High School, right? Sharda Mandir, right? Yeah, okay. Do you know where Sharda Mandir is? It's on the Google map here. Sharda Mandir. Do you know there is one railway line going next door to us? Maybe you are not aware, right? Because you walked all the way from here, came like this, and entered here. But you do not know, just few meters away there is this Chani Road and Grand Road here. So we are not aware because we just came, walked, and came here, and we're inside this hall. It's more better picture. There's a highway around, there's a railway line here. Railway line, there's a highway here, Kennedy Beach. And there is Chowpatty Beach here. This is place we are staying, we are here. Radha Gopinath temple is here, you can see. So I am giving an overview of the whole thing. We are sitting where? This place. And you can see the whole map. Now where we are sitting here, and this is whole of India. So we want to give a brief idea of what this ISKCON is all about. We are very minuscule part and parcel of ISKCON, International Society for Krishna Consciousness. But because we have been connected with directly to ISKCON Chowpatty, we may think that ISKCON Chowpatty is all in all, right? So we need to know that we are also part and parcel of the whole structure of ISKCON. And I remember when Srila Prabhupada left, India had 8 temples. How many temples? 8 temples. And now India has 235 temples. So ISKCON is growing. Within our lifespan, we have seen ISKCON growing from 1 center in Mumbai to 4 and 5. And Prabhupada wanted something like 25 centers in Mumbai. Temples, not centers. So ISKCON is growing, but we may not be updated with all what's happening in ISKCON. And when Prabhupada left us, ISKCON had 108 centers all over the world. And now there are 700 centers all over the world. So ISKCON is growing, our programs are increasing. But as managers and leaders, we need to also know that we are part and parcel of a big, heavy, gigantic structure of ISKCON. When a person is enrolled in a company, if he is in a manager post, he is given a tour of the whole project, right? And he's told which department is where, how it functions, who is the HOD, who is the department. So here we can say that this is kind of a training program. We involve this whole slides here so that all the preachers, managers who are here need to also know about the governing structure of ISKCON. Some of you here may think that I already know about it, but most of you may not know. So this program, many things which we are discussing in the program, some of you are aware, but many of you may not be aware. So it's like for those who are aware, it's a brush up recap for them, and those who are not aware, it will be kind of enlightenment that actually we are also a very small entity in the whole ISKCON chapter. So this is the governing structure of ISKCON. Is someone here on this thing? Devan? Where is he? Damodar Sharan. I opened a website also. Just open the website. Browser. You can see this is here. This is the whole structure of ISKCON is given here. You can go more on this website and check it. Browser खुला already. Just open the browser. You don't need to open the browser. It's already there. Window. It's not coming. Yeah. So this is the ISKCON GBC website, and if you open this, just can someone help me clicking this part? GBC, this one, GBC, just click this part. Yeah, you can see what is GBC, governing structure, members, profile. Yeah, take this members profile. And here is the whole GBC body. Go down. Many of the names you have never heard, right? Okay, keep going. Story. We will go in Maharaj, Bhakti Bhushan Maharaj, Bhakti Maharaj Swami, Bhakti Charu Swami, some familiar faces, Bhakti Maharaj. Keep going. Devamrit Maharaj, some known faces. Gopal Krishna Maharaj, Girdhari Maharaj, Hridaya Chaitanya Prabhu, Kavi Chandra Maharaj, Jai Bharata Maharaj, again known faces, Niranjan Maharaj, Bhakti Mataji. And there is Radha Maharaj also in this. Got it. Okay. Open this. Start GBC again. Go to the executive committee. So GBC chairman for this year is Bhakti Vaibhav Swami, first vice chairman Ramaya Swami, second vice chairman Bhakti Chaitanya Swami. Next meeting date October 11, 17, 2019 over. Now next is March to come. Next GBC. Again click. Ministries. Work. So there are different ministries in ISKCON which takes care of all ISKCON temple ministries. Deity worship ministry, communication ministry, health ministry, youth ministry, education ministry, Vaishnavi ministry, sannyas services, book distribution. Click GBC again. Committees. Go ahead. Dispute resolution committee, BBT construction, Guru services committee, World Holy Name Week committee, GBC nomination. This is all about ISKCON and GBC structure. And go back to slide now. So essentially, the whole ISKCON society is run by a group of devotees as Prabhupada wanted, and they are all GBC members, Governing Body Commission. This Governing Body Commission, they take care of various zones. The whole world is divided into multiple zones, and each zone is taken by one GBC, and under GBC is a zonal secretary who takes care of the zone. In that zone, there are various temples, and each temple has a temple president or a working committee which works and runs the temple. And under each temple, there are different programs. So ISKCON Chopati is just one of the temples in this whole huge structure. Let me go ahead, so you can see this now. GBC. In India, it works like that. Under GBC is ISKCON India Bureau. Then under that there is divisional councils, there are zonal secretaries, there are branches, temples, centers, preaching centers, Ramad centers, all these functions here. ISKCON India, this is ISKCON Bureau. ISKCON controls all legal, ISKCON Bureau controls all legal affairs and responsible for maintenance and protection of ISKCON's assets. Then there is IIAC body, which advises or gives recommendations to the ISKCON Bureau, right? What is the function of IIAC? Who are the IIAC members? There are selected members from all different places in India, not everyone, selected people. And this IIAC comes from ICC. And what is ICC? Indian Continental Committee. Indian Continental Committee is nothing but the temple presidents of all temples in India. They meet twice in a year, and from that body few people are recommended as IIAC, who give suggestions and advice to the ISKCON India Bureau, and they give suggestions to GBC body. The whole India is divided into 4 zones: north, east, west, south. Okay. So this is divisional councils. So many responsibilities they have. So north zone is called as NIDC, south is called SIDC, east is called EIDC, W is called, west is called WIDC. We are mid zone? WIDC. Let's see WIDC. This is WIDC. Maharashtra, Gujarat, Chhattisgarh. Okay. Go ahead. Now, these are few places which are under His Holiness Radha Swami Maharaj as GBC. So these are temples under Radhanath Maharaj: Chopati, GV, Pune, Nigdi, Nashik, Belgaum. And preaching centers, which are not yet temples, but preaching centers approved by the, who is approving this? WIDC approves. WIDC has to submit to ICC, ICC has to submit to ISKCON Bureau, IIC to ISKCON Bureau to GBC. So there is such a big body approving the whole thing. There is Baramati, Kolhapur, Goa, Palghar, Aurangabad, Ahmednagar, and Pune and Uttamnagar. These are exchange centers, Boisar, Bhusawal, Ratnagiri. So I am showing all that to make us understand that anything we do here, it is not that we are very independent. Let's say for example, any land comes or any trust deed comes, we have to start a trust. Some devotees may suddenly come an idea, let's have a trust in our own program. We have a small program going on. But it's not that ISKCON Chopati program is ISKCON Chopati ने sign कर दिया तो हो गया trust. नहीं. It has to go all the way to the bureau. As per the bureau rules, it has to come. This is how everything goes. So, Equity Exchange Center initially was a preaching program. In that preaching program, one preacher was there, many congregation developed. Slowly they found a small place. They began a small Ramhata, and then they got recognized as Exchange Center, and then it becomes a preaching center and then a branch. So this is how even a temple grows. Like for example, initially in ISKCON Chopati, we had Nashik and Nigdi as our satellite centers. They were under us. But when it grew and they got their own temples, own centers, then finally they moved out and they became independent ISKCON Nashik Center. No connection financially or in any way with ISKCON Chopati. Though they take inspiration from us, but it's a different setup like that. So this is the whole governing structure of how ISKCON functions. and we are just one member of the whole ISKCON society. So everything we need to do is as per the policy of ISKCON. Nothing we can do independent in our life. The next thing which we want to speak on is care is better than cure. Now we move on to our slides here. The book. The first thing is mentioned there. We are living in a society with great variety, right? As you saw in the slides, there are different temples of different sizes. This is page number 35 of the notes. Are you all with me? Then page 35. Yeah. Temples with different projects and success experience, different devotees from different backgrounds and different levels of Krishna consciousness. Right? ISKCON has a big variety in it. We have devotees practicing Krishna consciousness from North India, South India, West India, East India. Yeah, even within this particular room, we can ask someone, how many of you are Gujaratis here? Raise your hands. Okay. How many of you are Maharashtrian? Raise your hands. How many of you are Tamil Nadu, Tamilians? Raise your hands. How many of you are Malayalis? Raise your hands. How many of you are Marwadis? Raise your hands. How many of you are Kannadis? Raise your hands. So this temple, this whole one hall, we have a variety of people with different dialect, different way of speaking, eating, all that. Unique variety. So when unique variety is there, we need to also be very structured and very pakka in our dealings with each other, dealings with other ISKCON temples. Like once I remember one devotee had gone for book distribution in a train. And then he was mentioning ISKCON ki taraf se hum aaye, kitab leke aaye. And I was speaking something good about ISKCON. So one man just stopped him and said, "आप ISKCON के बारे में इतना अच्छा बोल रहे हो, ISKCON का एक बुरा है तो बोलो, ISKCON के बारे में एक बुरा है तो बोलिए." So the devotee was fixed now. वे नहीं बोलेंगे तो ये बोलना चालू कर देगा, है कि नहीं? So devotee said, ISKCON के सबसे बड़ा बुराई क्या है, क्या? उन्होंने अपना दरवाजा खुला रखा है, कोई भी आ सकता है अंदर. We don't check who is going to come in, what is intention. Do we check anyone's intention, why is coming? Because कोई आया तो प्रोग्राम में आया तो अरे अभी वो चैतन्य महाप्रभु ने भेजा उसको चलो और प्रसाद क्या है, कोई बात प्रसाद खिला के उसको प्यूरिफाई कर देंगे. So this is how our ISKCON body is functioning, and therefore many times we have devotees coming not only Chopadi ISKCON but ISKCON Juhu, ISKCON Kharghar, ISKCON Mira Road, everywhere. It's an open institution. They invite everyone to come, and therefore people are of all different levels, right? We hear in the books Kanishta Adhikari, Madhyam Adhikari, Uttam Adhikari. We have varieties of Kanishta, varieties of Madhyam, varieties of Uttam in ISKCON. So therefore, when they are dealing with each other or dealing with inter-temples, there is always a conflict. We need to know how we can handle those matters. So as mentioned here, see, important to understand that we are all work in progress cases. Everyone is work in progress, right? Hence, comparisons in terms of managerial and preaching efficiency between two preachers, programs, temples, and different leaders in same zone will be inevitable. I remember many years back when I just started coming temple, Radha Gopinath temple, I was still in teenage, and one very senior brahmachari in our temple moved to another temple. Right? He had moved to another temple for a reason. He wanted to book distribution for a long time. So he went, he talked to the authorities here, and then he arranged, relocated to another temple where he could do book distribution for more time. Not just few hours, but 24 hours and like that. And I did not know, I was thinking, why this devotee moved out, you know? So I went to a counselor and asked, Prabhuji, क्या हो गया? Prabhuji छोड़ के उधर क्यों गए? ये temple छोड़ के बॉम्बे दूसरे temple में क्यों गए? So the counselor answered to me, that Prabhuji, आदिनाथ महाराज की इच्छा है कि सारे ISKCON टेम्पल बॉम्बे के ट्रेन हो जाए, इसलिए इसको भैया उनको ट्रेनिंग देने की. I thought okay, अच्छा होगा ऐसे कुछ. Then afterwards I realized that we think that we are the best temples in one and others. Then I realized why he left that temple, because यहाँ पर book distribution focus नहीं था, and he wanted to do more book distribution, and he went to another temple where book distribution was more focused. Then I realized that actually our temple is good in something, but may not be good in everything. Some other temple will be good in other things which we are not doing. So there is variety in ISKCON, we should appreciate that variety. Never think that we are the one who will train the whole ISKCON. center, we are the best, everything is so good. I remember Sridhar Maharaj, our late Nisula Sridhar Swami Maharaj, he told many of our devotees in congregation also. He said, maybe your leader in ISKCON Chopati may be one of the best, but don't think you are one of the best. So that thing may come in that we are also the best because we are in this temple, ISKCON Chopati. So that thing has to be very much worked upon. We'll take the last point in this page. It takes a long time to rectify inter-temple relationship status once affected. Hence, it is best to be careful avoiding any conflicts in the first place. I'll like to mention a good example in this part to illustrate this part. There was one devotee was preaching in one particular area. Okay, he was preaching in one colony, which was a huge colony, almost like kilometers running together. So he had one program running in one corner from ISKCON Chopati, this devotee. And then one more other ISKCON temple in Mumbai, one preacher entered into that colony and began a program. समझ रहे आप क्या हो रहा है? एक बड़े कॉलोनी में, ह्यूज बड़ा कॉलोनी है, एक कोने में ISKCON चौपाटी का एक कार्यक्रम एक प्रीचर चला रहा है चौपाटी का. फिर ISKCOन कोई और सेंटर का व्यक्ति वो एक कोने में उसने प्रोग्राम चालू किया. तो ये डिवोटी अपने जो प्रीचर है उसको बहुत गुस्सा है. उसने कहा कि ऐसा यू आर नॉट अलाउड टू कम इन दिस कॉलोनी. This colony was huge, right? One part of this program is going on, and another program some other day. This program is happening. But the whole idea was, this 10 years back. He said that हम लोग ने कॉलोनी में अपना छाप लगा दिया, अभी इस कॉलोनी को और कुछ नहीं करेंगे. 5 years after that, there was a big problem which happened with two temples. A conflict. The leaders got involved. After 3-4 years around that time, I got a chance to do a program in another colony, which was another huge colony, but this devotee from the other temple who was preaching and conflict was happening, he was already preaching there. So I knew, अभी मैं वहाँ enter करूँगा तो problem होगा, ये मुझे नहीं बोलने वाला. But better let me ask him. So I went and said, प्रभु जी, इतना बड़ा कॉलोनी है, आप एक कोने में प्रचार कर रहे हैं, मैं एक कोने में प्रचार कर सकता हूँ क्या? No, what he said? प्रभु जी समुद्र इतना बड़ा है, इतना मछली है, उधर में मछली पकड़ता है तो इधर मछली पकड़ता है. I understood that preacher was much more mature than our preacher, right? Our preacher did not allow him to preach because this is my area. So whose area is it? After 10 years we realized that whichever area we are preaching, we can only get maximum 100 people, not more than that. And how many people are in that area? 5,000, 10,000 people in that area. Why not allow others to preach also? Because one program can create a rift in two temples. A small program, nothing coming out much there. तो धमाका नहीं हो रहा है, लेकिन उनका अच्छा तालमेल नहीं हुआ है, तो लंबे समय तक दोनों टेम्पल के बीच में क्या होगा? रिफ्ट होगा. So that we can avoid if we can actually sit together with the preachers can sit together and create a kind of a balance where how we can both preach and there will no interest, no area of there is no connection between or no confusion in both the cases. We'll go to the next one now. This is there are a few case studies. You want to write something about the case study? We are going on the now 37th page. Important things to keep in mind in inter-temple dealings, right? 37. Important things to keep in mind in inter-temple dealings. If any preacher is to visit any other ISKCON temple related regular satsang for preaching based on personal invitation of a devotee, please ensure the preacher of satsang has given his consent. For a temple program, the formal invitation letter email is received from the respective temple president and zonal secretary. Like for example, as I mentioned, the different zones which the ISKCON Chopati GPC Radha Maharaj is holding. Apart from there, if you go to any other zones, even though our congregation devotee will be staying in that zone, inviting you to come for some program, it is good officially to ask permission of the leader of that zone. Like whenever we go for book distribution also, just for book distribution, if you go out of Maharashtra, we mention it to Gaurangpur writes it to the ISKCON board and they take a formal permission that we are coming with bus party only to distribute books, not even a program also. And we make sure, we tell them that when we distribute books, if you get good people, all the contacts will be given to the local temple. So this is how ISKCON works, like that. We'll take one more, the next one, living within a multi-guru family of ISKCON, right? Ravi was mentioning today morning we had Radhanath Maharaj giving class and referring Jayadat Maharaj's name regularly. If you see, we have a unique temple in Radha Gopinath temple, we have a unique Vyasasan, a big Vyasasan, right? Generally there is Vyasasan only just one person can sit, but in our Vyasasan multiple people can sit. Sometimes look like a sofa also. Therefore we hang there, do not sit, this is a holy seat like that. People come thinking it's sofa and just sit there. It's a unique place and people sit there. Why Maharaj made the Vyasasan so that all of his god brothers, god sisters when they come, they can all sit on the same dais. So he has created the mode that all of his god brothers, god sisters, everyone senior, they are given the same respect as him. I remember one time Radhanath Maharaj called all the brahmacharis in the Radha Gopinath temple and he told, we had one visiting preacher, His Holiness Kavichandra Maharaj. He said, Kavichandra Maharaj is a self-realized soul. Maharaj said, we should all brahmacharis sit next to him near the Vyasasan and hear his realization. So, fortunately for me, after a few years, I got a chance to go to a country where Kavichandra Maharaj was the GBC there. It's a very difficult place to preach. But Maharaj was for the last 35 years. I did not know his glories much because we stay in Chopati, so we know only few sannyasis who come to temple. So I went there, I realized that Maharaj is practically actually suffering there while preaching. But in that difficult area, he is trying to preach. So I go to that area for the last 5 years. So when I met Kavichandra Maharaj in Mumbai recently, I asked Maharaj, my last 5 years I am going to that place, what should I do? So Maharaj said, I am going for last 35 years. Keep going. So I was wondering that this is the dedication of a person. So he may not be a good kirtaniya, he may not be a very affluent seminar giver, but a silent preacher moving Prabhupada's movement there in that place, initiating devotees that place was so difficult. In fact, a few years back, Radhanath Maharaj was recollecting a story where Kavichandra Maharaj was in coma for many days because he got sick in that country where he used to preach. And then he was coma, and then when Maharaj went to meet him, that was the time he came out of the coma. And he saw Radhanath Maharaj when he came out of the coma. And he told Radhanath Maharaj, please help me to distribute books in that country. Immediately that was the reaction. The first time he's coming out of coma, he's asking, please help me in distributing books in that country. So we have wonderful self-realized souls everywhere. So this place where I am preaching, why I am putting an example is, because I am going for the last 5 years, some people got connected to me and he told me, Prabhuji, we want to take initiation from Radhanath Maharaj. I said, why? Because आपके गुरु है ना, मैं आपसे inspiration लिया. How often you got a chance to meet Radhanath Maharaj or ever get chance to meet Radhanath Maharaj? You only hearing the lectures of Radhanath Maharaj, but here you practically serving this sannyasi who is coming here, right? You saw Prasadam doing, calling for programs. So what's wrong? Try this. I mean, is it necessary that because you are under me, because that's why all Radhanath Maharaj disciples should come? So they got a chance to understand the whole broad aspect of ISKCON. And as a result, I saw that many devotees then started thinking that there are many more devotees in ISKCON. There are so many wonderful gurus in ISKCON, all as dedicated and as powerful as we have our own spiritual masters. And if that concept is, the preacher understands this, and he shares this concept with everyone in the congregation, we will never have one particular zone with one guru only and other gurus are not there. That kind of concept will never come to the picture because the preacher is himself trained properly. That in ISKCON, under Srila Prabhupada, there are many wonderful heroes who are spreading Krishna consciousness all over the world. Then, yeah. Yes. This I mentioned, forward permission, logistical clarification. Living within a multi-guru family of ISKCON, yes, we covered this, you can see here. The position and respect of ISKCON gurus, senior Srila Prabhupada disciples. Welcome of other gurus and other Srila Prabhupada disciples. So there are many different aspects. More details are given in the book, you can read them. Respecting others' affection for their gurus, presenting one's guru in public. More or less, this was also covered in ISKCON disciple course. not go details into this. Encouraging congregation devotees to take initiation from whoever they want, not be attached to one particular guru. Resolve hot and cold wars. Now last one.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhu. I was just thinking that in regards to connecting with the opposite gender, His Holiness Sachinandan Swami Maharaj made a very interesting statement. There are three ways of looking at a woman. He was talking to the brahmacharis. He said, one is, this is Maya. The second is, this is my mother, Mataji. And the third is, this is a spirit soul in a particular type of body. Of course, he said, it is very difficult to come on that platform. Like Sukadeva Goswami could see that this is spirit soul in one particular type of body and deal and interact accordingly. But otherwise we need to do that according to our level and maintain a respectful distance. Chanakya Pandit says, even Matravat Paradhareshu Paradraveshu Loshtavat, even within mother, sister or daughter, no vivikta sano bhavet. Balavan Indriya Grama, senses are so powerful. This is something that everyone who is preaching, in whatever way, whether you are a cultivator, whether you are a manager, whether you are a preacher, this understanding is very important. One time, each one has to actually do some internal check. His Holiness Radha Swami one time was speaking about Yayati, the great powerful king. One day he was going and he heard somebody shouting from a well. And then when he went and looked down, he saw Devyani, the daughter of Shukracharya, who she was pushed. She had no clothes on and she was pushed by Sharmishta, and she had gone away and she was shouting for help. And Yayati went and saw her condition, and he extended his hand to pick her up from that well. When he extended, naturally he was a king. As a Kshatriya, he wanted to save anyone in distress. So he had compassion and he held and he pulled her out. And then she proposed to him. Now you caught my hand, Pani Grahan. So you do the needful now. And there Maharaj made a very interesting statement. He said, when he pulled her out, it was compassion. But he held her little longer than what was necessary. There, from the spirit of compassion, of protecting and saving, to the sense of enjoying came in. Very subtly, very innocently, without knowledge. The original nature came up. Not original nature, the conditioned nature. So all of us, whether we have a material body or male body or female body, we are all in the Purusha Bhava, wanting to enjoy Prakriti in another body. And it is so deep rooted. And initially our intention may be very good to assist and help somebody in distress. But then, as the fire and butter principle, even if you keep the butter in the fridge for 10,000 years, and then you bring it closer to the fire, it just melts. That's the principle. Therefore, several times this has been emphasized, and we have seen over several years, many times innocently, like one senior sannyasi told in a brahmachari class, first time you look at a woman, you are innocent. Actually, it's very beautiful poem. The next time you look, you are guilty. And the third time you look, you are a victim. So the point is, if that boundary is not established very realistically and understanding, Shravanand Prabhu made one nice statement once. Just to protect one individual, the opportunity to protect so many others are lost. If we mess up that kind of a situation. So, so many things are given in that manual. I just gave kind of briefly the principle that to be kept in mind, especially because we don't have that much of a compassion as Prabhupada and all the other acharyas. We are doing it as a duty. And at the same time, we want to help as much as possible. So, keeping some kind of a realistic understanding of our own ability, our capacity, our limits, and making that safe boundary beyond which we can't take responsibility. Then we will be safe in the long run. So, we did about institutional dealings. Also sometimes several kind of issues come up, especially because we are here in Mumbai, especially devotees near Meera Road, where there are two institutions, Radha Giridhari and Radha Gopinath devotees, because of the large chunk of our congregation is in Meera Road because of the hospital. So we are working with two different temples, devotees close by. We need to be very, very mature, very discreet in everything we do. And also in Khargar, we have Khargar temple and also a lot of congregations staying there in Navi Mumbai of Radha Gopinath. So these places, especially where a lot of congregation are, and many other places where several devotees come. If you're not little careful in everything that we start doing, it can unnecessarily create a strained relationship and misunderstandings and ill feelings and bad taste at the end, and stop sometimes preaching, and also people's faith may be spoiled. So we need to, we have given certain instructions that needs to be followed, and if you don't understand, you can have question answer later. So living within the multi-guru family of ISKCON, that was also discussed. Page number 37, position and respect of ISKCON gurus, senior disciples. So when certain people come to our programs, very senior devotees come to our programs, how to make them feel very comfortable, and probably they are very mature and senior people, we can request them to come and share their thoughts. These are very also to be remembered. So now, page number 40, resolving cold and hot wars. Where there is dry wood and wind, chances of fire develop. Similarly, winds of circumstances may start small or big fires between devotee due to lack of sensitive dealings. Unknowingly, without our knowledge, through our words, through our action, through our behavior, we may send some clear message which is perceived by others as very negative and some ill feelings develop. That happens everywhere, even amongst husband and wife. What to speak of, and in a family, what to speak of in such a mixed kind of a family of different levels of people from different backgrounds and different cultures. So, do not fuel the fire further by rumors, public criticism, and online revenge posts. And 2, approach the local preaching authority and resolve the matter amicably. So, we have created this CDD kind of thing, and if you have any issues, if you feel that it is not being addressed, refer to the local CDD, and they are like devotees who are exclusively responsible for preaching in that particular region, because many times they know the dynamics of that place. Preachers in that place or senior devotees in that place, they know the dynamics of the and the nature of the people whom they are kind of working, and they know how to handle that. And sometimes sitting here in the temple, the way the things have expanded, probably we will not be able to understand the situation and give a proper kind of way of action. So if it can be dealt at that level, well and good. Only if you feel that very senior people are involved and it is not possible to deal here, then it can be escalated to the CDD core, and even if that is not happening, then we escalate it to another level, next level, as you saw all the levels. In ISKCON there is a lot of levels we probably are not able to handle that. However, few proactive tips to avoid preempt conflict, and that is cooperating among oneself and other preaching team is very essential to be an inspirational example before the newcomers. As far as possible, we try to cooperate and make sure that we don't create a scene, especially publicly in front of others. New devotees should not just disciples of same guru, but also disciples of different gurus coming together. And if we have a mixed people from various temples are also coming, it's not a question of which guru, which disciple, which temples. In fact, in Mira Road, there is one couple who is taking the service responsibility of a counselor. They are not even initiated in ISKCON society. They are coming from the Sri Sampradaya, and somehow devotees felt that they can take that responsibility, and they are doing that. So if they have the qualification, if we feel somebody has some qualification and they are responsible, they are mature, they can deliver that responsibility nicely, we could actually give that. To that extent, they're open, what to speak of other gurus, disciples, and other temples or whatever. So all these things have to be kept in mind in a very realistic and practical way. While offering any kind of facilities, position, glorification, importance, opportunities, strictly the qualification of the individual to be considered, not partiality based on one's god sister, god brother, or disciples or the groups. So, one should not be seeing it as a label of this person, disciple, like that. Little more broader mentality and seeing the individual in that capacity and empowering them. So, painting together on a larger canvas. Page 41. The goal of all preachers, organizers and managers of different program temples and zone is one. What is that? To assist Srila Prabhupada and Lord Chaitanya in changing the world. This is our main motive of our outreach. One should have the bigger picture in mind and not be self-centered, focused on the short-term benefits. I have got this individual. मैंने खेत को पानी डाला, इसका फल किसी और के खेत में क्यों गिर रहा है? That is the mentality. I have to take this person. How can this person go to that temple and get initiated there? Truly, when we, in a very mature way, help broaden the perspective of that individual and help that person deepen the understanding of philosophy, empower them to take that responsibility and the call. Unless they themselves ask, you may speak something. as Krishna, the best counseling session is Krishna speaking to Arjuna. After speaking the whole thing, he says, Yathechasi tatha kuru. Vimrishyaita. I think about all the possibilities and options I have said. This is it, this is it. Take your call. In the long run, even if they go out elsewhere and have issue, they will come to you because they trust you that you are their genuine well-wisher. So that is important. Being a genuine well-wisher of somebody and wanting that, sincerely wanting the progress of that person is more important than where that person is getting connected, whether to my guru or my temple or whatever like that. This should be the attitude generally. We will not always be the beneficiaries of it. Sometimes we preach to someone and they go away to some other country or some other land. And then somebody else comes and gets connected here. That also happens. We see that. Somebody else comes and eventually is inspired and becomes a part of this community or a congregation. Ultimately, preaching is meant for the benefit of the respective individual and happens only by the mercy of the Lord. And now we come to the last one. Dealing with people with differing beliefs. In essence, if you ask me, here one should be very, very mature and broad-minded enough to relate to that individual and see whatever their level of receptivity and share that knowledge accordingly. So there are various aspects. This is very, very broad and time does not permit today. We will not so much go, but I'll just touch briefly. You may read it, but it's a very important topic. Because in our preaching, we come across so many new people. They are coming from other organizations. Somebody before coming here may have been attached to some gurus of some organizations or some organizations, which are preaching sometimes Vedic, sometimes non-Vedic, sometimes Hindu, non-Hindu, sometimes different new age kind of people that they are following, and then they come just kind of trying it out, and they may like it, they may not, and then they say, oh, very nice, you people are also good, bye-bye, very good. It's alright. So we have to be more or less also detached in trying to give this. So, players in the area of social welfare, is my way the highway, different slopes for different folks, and focusing on commonalities instead of differences. These are the broad categories. Players in the area of social welfare. Okay, can you name some organizations? These 4 categories down. Other Hindu organizations which are favorably disposed towards ISKCON?
Cow protection. Chinmay.
RSS. Chinmayananda. Swaminarayan. Pandurang Shastri Atode. Anyone else? Anything else? Other Hindu organizations. Okay. At least they believe in Shiva. Which Shiva is not expressed, but they do say Shiva Baba. Gaudiya Vaishnavas, Gaudiya Math, right? Varkari Sampradaya, Sri Sampradaya, Madhu Sampradaya. Alright, other Hindu organizations which are not favorably disposed towards ISKCON. तो आपने कैसा व्यवहार किया उनके साथ उसके ऊपर निर्भर होता है. Depending upon how people have dealt with them. Okay, other non-Hindu organizations are favorably disposed. Parsis, Jains, Shri Ravi Shankar, Ramdev Baba, yoga path within the 6th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Ashtanga Yoga. It's like that's not non-Hindu. Yeah, sorry, we are talking about non-Hindu organizations. Yeah. Hindu, what we mean by following the Vedas. There you can bring in Brahma Kumaris. They don't actually believe in the Gita and the Bhagavad. They don't have that, but they say. Anyway, these are very subtle things. Yeah, we are not here to balka dissect everything, but just to know how, in terms of dealings, how we do that. Other non-Hindu organizations are not favorably disposed towards ISKCON. They are basically broad categories. Two cross sections: one favorable, non-favorable, Hindu, non-Hindu. That's how it is divided. But the idea is, how much are in alignment with our beliefs and lines of thought, and favorable in terms of are they appreciative or not? Whether their problem or our problem, that's another thing. But these are the two aspects. And basically what it means is, accordingly, sometimes people are just inquisitive. Sometimes they come, just want to know what you believe in. And they say, wow, I'm kind of trying out everything. Yours is nice. Thank you. And some people who are searching and they like it, they want to remain. Some may remain your well-wishers for the rest of their life. They remain well-wishers. आप लोग बहुत अच्छा काम कर रहे हो. आपको कुछ भी चाहिए ना, हमारे पास हम बोलो, हमको बोलो. The people like that. So our Shruti Dharma Prabhu made a pyramid. And he said different levels of connectivity and care for different levels of people. So the first level, they say, what is Hare Krishna? क्या है तुम लोग क्या करते क्या हो? हरे राम हरे कृष्ण. So basically these people are inquisitive. Sometimes they come, they understand and they appreciate. अच्छा अभी समझ में आ गया. तुम लोग गीता और भागवत को करते हो बेसिक, है ना? यही ना? अच्छा, बहुत अच्छा. Then people, some of them may come over here and they say, I like Hare Krishna. आप लोग बहुत अच्छा काम कर रहे हो. मुझे जब करने मत बोलो. आप लोग बहुत अच्छा काम कर रहे हो. बच्चों के लिए कर रहे हो, उसके लिए कर रहे हो, खाना खिला रहे हो, बहुत अच्छा काम कर रहे हो. आपको कुछ भी मदद चाहिए तो हम लोग हैं. So they are the well-wishers. Then some of them may progress further. I am a Hare Krishna. At least on Sundays. Sunday I will come, participate in the program, put tilak, kanthi mala. ये ऐसा कैसे करते? हाँ अच्छा. ये tilak कैसा लगा? थोड़ा लगा नहीं? हाँ. They have a full-fledged social life from Monday to Saturday. They have a full-fledged other life. But on Sundays, Hare Krishna मंदिर में जाता हूँ. So they are gradually kind of accepting the process. From that, some of them may go up. Now my life is Hare Krishna. Sunday ho ya Monday. Now when they pick up the phone, Hare Krishna. The world knows that they are Hare Krishna. Even if they go to sometimes their relatives' house or whatever, others are also know, hey, Hare Krishna, आजकल ना ये सब नहीं खाता, वो सब खाता. वहाँ ना उसके लिए अलग से बनाना पड़ता है. So now it is very clear. Wherever I go, whichever day, whatever time, I am Hare Krishna. And then some may go little more higher. My mission is Hare Krishna. ज़्यादा देखो तारे कहो. Not only will they remain, but wherever they go, they will try to share their good fortune. with more and more people in whatever level they can. The point he was telling was there will be different levels of people like this. Some favorable, some not, some whatever. Whatever level they are, accordingly connect to them. Continue to connect to them, relate to them. Somebody may remain here only, somebody may after many years come here, some may remain at a particular stage for their whole life, somebody may move ahead. Ye yatha mam prapadyante tam sathaiva bhajamya. As they show receptivity, that much you kind of start reciprocating. And have a system of care, have a system of connecting for all levels. At least within your mind or in your file. You belong to this category, I am always connecting at that level. And you don't know. We may have served in one of these categories for many lives before coming here. So, this is how we connect to different levels of people. And very important principle, page number 44, the last one, focusing on commonalities instead of differences. I remember many years ago, on a group of Chinmaya mission, people had come to our temple, and His Holiness Radha Swami Maharaj happened to be there, and we was in the temple, and we called him, and he spoke. Very nicely spoke about the glories of the Vedas. What we shared. This is another thing I would like to. Connecting with various organizations. I think Jagannath Priya Prabhu once asked this question during Prayag. We were discussing about Prayag project. That, say for example, there's one organization which believes in cow protection. And part of our belief is we also believe in cow protection. So we connect to them. So, but they have a different philosophy. Especially the Jains, they actually do an amazing service for the cows. So at that time, Maharaj gave a very important point. He said, this is ISKCON, and say, this is an organization, whatever. And there are some things we share in common. So, to connect with these kind of people requires very mature people, not the new devotees, who themselves don't know what they stand for. Those who are deeply fixed in their own philosophical conviction is there, and also understand and have very clear cut line drawn, and do not impose themselves here, and neither are they affected affected by this kind of philosophy because they are fixed up. Such people need to connect, especially inter-religious dialogues. And this kind of preaching, not anyone and everyone, because those who are not even fixed in their own path, they get diverted. Because sometimes these other kind of philosophies are much easy to relate and connect and get emotional. But to be fixed up in this deep philosophical Vaishnava principles is not easy. So such kind of connectivities with other organizations, other people, should be done by very mature and trained devotees who are following this principle. Page number 44. Respect the diet, dress, rituals and etiquette of others, even if they are vastly different from our own. If you see His Holiness Radha Swami Maharaj, the way he deals with different groups, just seeing how he relates, connects and interacts is an amazing lesson to learn. Respect that others have a commitment to their chosen faith as we do to ours. Be sensitive and courteous to all you meet, even if you do not get a chance to interact on a deeper level. Respect the right of others to disagree on a philosophical point and their desire to not continue the discussion. When the members of other faiths come to our congregation program, deal with them very politely as guests of Sri Radha Gopinath and Srila Prabhupada. Basically, sensitivity and maturity. And respect, basically sensitivity and respect to their beliefs. Like one time, one college girl, she had become a devotee and she came to Maharaj and said, Maharaj, I am trying to preach to all my college friends and nobody is listening to me, no. What do I do? Maharaj made a very interesting statement. He said, just become friends with them. Don't try to preach, become friends. Accept them for what they are and respect them for who they are. Then eventually they will accept you for what you are, respect you for who you are, and they are inspired, they may follow, they may try to understand more deeper. Accept them as they are, respect them for who they are. They will do the same and eventually you develop a deep relationship. But this is the meaning of holier than thou, not possessing holier than thou attitude. Yes, we should be believing that our philosophy is the highest. We are chaste to our philosophy. Anarpita charim chirag karunaya atirna kalau samarpayitu unnata ujjala rasam samartishya. There is nothing higher than this, what Lord Chaitanya has given. But our action, our dealings, our interactions, behavior should prove that we have the highest philosophy. How we are simultaneously deeply connecting at the commonalities and broadly respecting the differences. Broad-minded enough to respect the differences. Then you understand, oh, this person is really, it's like an ocean. Anything, many rivers can flow and still they don't get disturbed. The ocean doesn't get overflowed. That's the vastness of the ocean. To the extent we have the vast wisdom, depth and the width of an ocean, any rivers that flow cannot affect, but rather, can make an impact. So I think we will stop here. We have come to the end. I can't believe we did it in time, 5:30. I think we all deserve a round of applause. Me for finishing it in time and you for sitting it through. Congratulations. So I request Sridhama Sakha Prabhu, Baldev Prabhu, Sudhir Chaitanya Prabhu, Keshav Chandra Prabhu to kindly come over. I'm feeling very lonely, I'm lacking the team spirit. No. Then I will also come down. Okay, come on. Please come. 5 minutes में तो बैठो यार. But please bring your own chair. So, I think having started at 11 o'clock, 11:50, and with a 1 hour break solid for 45 minutes, quite a good job. Alright. So now we are open. Car park, any questions you have put? You can remove the car. As I said, these two seminars are the outcome of several months and months of discussion and churning about issues that we are being faced, what is our goal, where do we stand right now, how to reach there. And these are just the first two kind of seminars, solid presentations that have come out after a lot of churning. I'm grateful to everyone involved, all these members here. And we manufacture the soap, but the packaging was done by our Shastri team. And they put it into such a nice format. Beautiful, like can you imagine this kind of manuals, printing it out and giving them, systematically designing them. And in the mood, we just kind of wrote something about mood. But they made it into such a nice house and door, window. मैं बोला वाह, मैं तो सिर्फ bricks and cement दिया था, क्या घर बना दिया इन्होंने first class. So I would like to express our gratitude to them all. And Mahabhagat Prabhu for instant translation into all the हिंदी में करके उन्होंने आप सब लोगों को दे दिया. Hare Krishna. Yes, now we are open for any questions.
Hare Krishna. Thank you for all the team members, and it was a very needing session so that devotees from all centers, especially from Khargar, also could come and meet you all people and understand so many things. So this is regarding institutional dealing. We are most of the people, we are near New Bombay, and especially in Khargar, we are just, our neighbor temple is called Radha Madan Mohan. So there is a very high expectation from devotees who are connected to Radha Gopinath temple also, that they will take part in many activities. Not only the temple direct activities, but their preaching activities also, book distribution, DT cooking. So many avenues are there which they have a lot of expectation. They express sometimes boldly, sometimes they express in via channels. They also express that somehow you can promote their schemes and their courses, because they also come up with Bhaktivedanta College, so they have their courses. So how do we take the stand? How do we go about in this environment? Like as Bhadev said, that you have to cooperate.
I am part of CDD local there also. You asked me the same question. I said, let's answer this question to Radha Gopinath and prove in this and that. So you give a broad perspective because you experience in Mira the same thing, right? So you like to hear broad experience because you are I dealt with all this problem.
I'll share with you two things. When Bhaktivedanta Hospital came up, the land was purchased. That is the time we realized that next, across the street, Radha Giridhari temple is going to come up. So it was like almost like a simultaneous thing. And because of the hospital, practically big chunk of our congregation is in Mira Road. Because the hospital and also that section was a lot of people, when the land started coming, a lot of people took their residences. So there were issues and, and one time it was asked to Radha Swami Maharaj that, Maharaj, sometimes, they say that you are staying here, but you go there, you are not contributing anything, why don't you contribute here? Services and things like that. So he said, well, you may have, some of you very senior people, you have been connected with Radha Gopinath for several years and your heart is naturally inclined to this, nourished by this community here, and also a big chunk of that community is there. So you also come together regularly. However, you also go there for programs and you also go there for darshan, things like that. Sometimes, many times you come here, but many times you go there also. So he said, so suppose say you are giving 100 rupees. So 80 you can give to temple and 20 you can give there also. Number one. or sometimes if some major festivals come, they need a lot of support, you could also come and do some seva there. As a together a group, you go and do that seva. So from that time, like during Rath Yatra, one particular service is taken up by Radha Gopinath devotees. They take up that seva and do it. So that is one way I saw how, in a very practical, in a way, developing a very deeper connection and relationship. It's not that you are unchaste to one by taking the other, but at the same time, it's as I said, Siddhant wise we are the same, but rasa wise we are connected in one particular, because another thing also very important, each temple has a particular type of mood, right? As Baladev Prabhu said, one of the devotee inspired and he went there because their book distribution, that was the only thing he wanted to do. And at that time, here we did not want any specialization. Now that's why we put everyone on a rotation basis. That was the mood at that time. Maharaj didn't want any specialities. I am specializing in this, specializing. So a ego comes. I don't do all this. वो झाड़ू मारने का, सब्जी लाने का मेरा काम नहीं. मैं तो सिर्फ book distribution and seminar presentation. But no services like that. Everyone has to do every service. So the mood was there. Therefore, we at that time he decided, you're perfectly all right with that. Somebody wanting to serve in that particular sense. So that is the way it was expressed in a very practical way. And this was many years ago. I saw. We were not at ISKCON at that time, we were League of Devotees. Till 93. 93 we became connected to ISKCON during that time. At that time, many of Juhu was the main temple, and a lot of life members would stay in this area, South Bombay. So they would come to our temple and they would say, "ये आप लोग ISKCON है क्या? फिर वो जुहू क्या है?" बोला, "तो दोनों एक ही है, जहाँ आपको प्रेरणा मिलता है वहाँ जाइए." But when they would go there, they would say, "वो ISKCON नहीं वो थोड़ा क्या बोलते हैं?" At that time, we were also fanatics, we were also know this. But they would say, "वो लोग थोड़ा वो क्या बोलते हैं? क्या बोलते हैं? डाइवर्जेंट वो थोड़ा ऐसा वो रिबल ऐसा कुछ अलग हो गया." And they would come here and they would say, तो कहीं जा सकते उधर भी जहाँ प्रेरणा मिलता है, सब एक ही है. And many came here, even though we said something and they said something. So I realized, when you give them affection, love and care from your side and always there for them, and just let them, just give them that freedom. Let them take the call. And where are they going? Even if they go, what's the big deal? And regarding our own selves, we are chaste. At the same time, what will please Maharaj, what will please Lord Radha Swami Maharaj, is when he sees that we are very nicely, cooperatively working and pleasing Srila Prabhupada. But it should be done in a very practical way, not sentimental and not impersonal. That's the idea. Practically meaning, okay, हम लोग यहाँ कर कल्टिवेट करें, बिकॉज एक व्यक्ति को कल्टिवेट करने में एक मूड में फिक्सअप करना पड़ता है, उसके बाद उसको छोड़ दो. If still somebody is inspired, let them go, na. It's not a loss. It's not that we are losing. No, they're going somewhere and serving nicely. It's perfectly all right. So if we keep like that, if we broad-minded and correct, that's it. And one last thing, managers understand cooperation in 3 ways. Your hand, your pockets, and your heart. If two managers of 2 temples, cooperate karo. If you are staying so close to that particular place, your hands, that means some seva is there, I go and serve in this where you really require. It's a big festival and you need a lot of support. Here, the whole group will take up one responsibility and do it. That's where we show that our hands are there. Our pockets, I love you, but donation idhar, udhar kuch nahi. तो ठीक है भाई, तुम यहाँ में से है ना 80 उधर दो, 20 इधर तो दो, contributing some for some particular project. And also your heart. Yeah, your heart may be with Gopinath, but simultaneously, because there connectivity there. So if we show, I mean, after all, it's the same Krishna. Prabhupada is there in those temples also. So in that mood, if we try to, very maturely cooperate, it will be appreciated. Anyone would like to add?
Any other questions?
This is regarding Lakshmi. So, Lakshmi money. So, Guruji, like you said, for that most of the major donations like temple we can give, but at many places of location, let's share the 2 points. One is that many times like we are in a digital age, so many times giving by digital cash is like people feel taking out. So by digital way, we are paid to give more, and there is no chance of even by mistake. There is no chance of misunderstandings. So, but at many times giving maintaining account it again feels a headache. Because you need a separate person to have that account and all the account details. So how to keep a balance of this for the small centers like maybe a Karna or some kind of that, because I want to understand your field.
See, well, we'll have to understand one thing, that when we make any payment digitally, first of all, if you are collecting money, like recently for Thane Teaching Center, we had opened a separate bank account. That is after so many years and when their scale has become quite big. But for other small preaching, whatever is going on, it's basically we should consider it as a Namahata. So a Namahata, as per ISKCON guidelines, which Baldev Prabhu explained, we are just like one small speck. But the basic rule is that if we collect money in the name of ISKCON, it has to get deposited in ISKCON bank account. But in that case, then the receipt has to be issued from the temple only. So, considering this, at the level at which we are operating for the various centers, there will be some restriction in the sense, if you are collecting, like for Belapur, they are collecting, so whatever checks are being collected, or you are collecting digitally, you can give our bank account details, you can contact our accounts department, get all facilities. Digitally, we will be able to assist you, but then all the money will get deposited in the temple bank account, and all expenses to be paid from there has to be against proper bills, again, and mostly check payments will be made. So within those restrictions, you can collect.
My question was related to local accounts, not about general life local accounts.
No, that's what. So local accounts means then you will have to collect money, means for your preaching program, then you will have to collect in some individual's name, then it will become part of his income. It has to be reported in the income tax returns, whatever you are filing. So all those complications will be there. If it is within the limits, then we can
But
pay.
with congregations, we have made up one general joint account. 2-3 members, we have made a joint account and we are operating through that.
Yeah. So most important thing is you maintain transparency. As we explained over here, for that management, the local management, we have facilitated in the sense that we have given you, we have made it decentralized. So within that, if you have created a joint account in the name of some of you Mataji's or some here, and then you could collect it over there, issue receipts, maybe you could have a small satsang name, and then give receipts also to the people, that is no problem. Yeah. Within that limit, but we have to understand, as we grow, then all the rules have to be followed. So if it is within small, it can be facilitated. Any other question?
Hare Krishna. Prabhuji, we mentioned about, say, if in case we would want to go and offer a program, brahmacharis or teachers from our zone may want to go and offer programs or give a class somewhere outside, we have to have a written permission with respect to that. Does the same apply from that side also? I mean, it's obviously true, but many times devotees, they have sentimental attachment towards some other brahmacharis or some other temple authorities and preachers, and they might want to come and offer a program over here. So how do we take care of that?
If you're talking about Mumbai, in Mumbai, it is not like just, if for example, if you're teaching in WG, it doesn't mean WG is Radha Gopinath zone, not like that. The whole Bombay comes under, the 4 temples can go anywhere and preach, like that. So if a WG, let's say some preacher wants to start preaching, and if I see WG is quite big, right? So if one program is happening in one corner, the other program is going to start in another, we should be happy to facilitate that. That's what we are talking about institution-wise. To talk outside Mumbai, if you go, then there are very specific boundaries. Like for example, Kolhapur. Kolhapur is under ISKCON Chowpatty. Like someone else is coming to Kolhapur who is not from ISKCON Chowpatty, then you have to go take a formal permission or at least inform what he's going to do. So that kind of picture is more clear in the other areas apart from a city. In ISKCON Pune, for example, Pune, there are 3 temples now. NCC, Kunjbihari and Nigdi, right? And there is one farm, Bella. So between Nigdi and Pune, they decide how the preaching zone, where they can have. So they have a good tandem, good relationship, and they mark it. ISKCON Nigdi may not be so big in preaching, but ISKCON Pune is very wide range of preaching. They have reached Vijayawada, which is next door to ISKCON Nigdi. But it's all permissions are taken and they can do that. They have a small center in ISKCON Vijayawada. Vijayawada is ISKCON Ministry also. Yeah. So, can you add to it and you can see if the questions are answered.
See, the other thing is you're saying that that's one of the reasons why we've created the CDD and local CDD, so that the local CDD can decide that where else can we have preaching in this zone. So that's one aspect of it. Second aspect you need to keep in mind is if you're starting one program which is very close to another program that's existing already, I think it's very important to inform them and see whether there are any overlaps. If there are overlaps happening in terms of timing, in terms of volunteers, in terms of funds, obviously it's going to create conflict. So why start a conflict from the day one? It's better to plan it.
So we will be having, soon in the future, there is another huge locality coming by the name of Kalava. So that is much more, it has got a proximity nearby to Kharghar center rather than Radha Gopinath or the central line. So that would be one question if in case you would want to deliberate.
Like we have unique example of Mira Road. We have a good program going on in Bhakti Hospital. There are so many other different programs happening. There is Radha Girdhari temple, they have their programs. So this temple, I would say that Radha Girdhari temple and Bhakti Hospital is a good example for all of us to work on. Now, if I say conflict only happens when 2 parties are actually involved in the conflict. Never only one party. So if the other party is not so mature, we try to deal maturely, because what will happen is we are looking for short-term gains. I've seen any program, after 5 years, all that conflict is gone away. They are happily doing each other, they are doing their program, the other party is doing his program. There is no problem. Conflict is only in the mind. You think that अरे हमारा पैसा ले लेगा, हमारा आदमी ले लेगा, इतना आदमी बड़ा होता है. Why do you take tension about it? Let a conflict happen. Before thinking of the conflict, let it happen. More or less, we always, at least I felt like that. Whenever someone comes in, if you होगा ऐसे, अरे होने तो बात लेकिन क्या problem? At least this is in terms of people who are not from our zone. When it comes to ISKCON Chowpatty का ही एक preacher आया है, उसी जगह पे ISKCON Chowpatty का और एक preacher आ गया. Then CDD local should deal with that. But CDD local cannot enter into that area where, let's say ISKCON Chowpatty is involved and ISKCON Kharghar preacher आ गया. CDD local cannot say हम CDD local यहाँ गए. ISKCON Kharghar, CDD local is for ISKCON Chowpatty for better management. That I understand.
Hare Krishna. This is a common theme about yatras, initiations, and people changing from one satsang program or one mentor to another. Nowadays, there are some like private yatras that say Lal Govind team or somebody in what is the place in Radha, Lal Bagh. So the devotees from different group satsangs also tend to get attracted by these names and tend to go. And then they don't have enough money to actually come for the yatras, say Maharaj, or that we want to take. So it becomes so these keep for nowadays because of WhatsApp. So is there a proper policy, or we can discourage them, or it's up to them that whatever they want to do? Also regarding initiations, that we have a very proper policy that there has to be recommendation, counselor, and but it seems that other gurus, that anybody goes, they don't even ask the particular satsang that they are attending that is this guy okay to be initiated. Just recently somebody who comes very regularly to Radha Gopinath temple, he got initiated by Radha Gopinath Maharaj. And I know him, he is not so good at many things. But then there was no contact that is this guy so. Is there a policy for in the brand that at least the person who is contacting is a, and same for satsang programs. Somebody from our group went and approached some counselor within our Chopati, and that counselor didn't even consult the satsang leaders whether this guy can be taken as a counselor, and he was taken. So all these things basically form in similar pattern of things. So just wanted to.
Two things, let's take one at a time. The whole purpose of this formation of CDD and the local CDD, the effort is to streamline certain systems of outreach and care through counselor and mentor system. That's more of care and this is more of outreach. And this is our first effort, though it's being reactively done, but it is being done in terms of, as I said, bringing about a culture of our dealings. We will do it according from this temple. We will set up our systems, we will set up our way of dealing with things, our way of doing. Now, if somebody else from another group wants to take them, and these people are desirous to go, who are you to stop them? Who are you to stop? Unless you have invested and they come and ask you, Prabhuji, I trust you, tell me, should I go there? Then, depending upon what is best for that individual, genuinely in a detached way, give that suggestion. In the long run, they will develop faith that this person is not attached to possessing, but rather whatever is best for that individual. In the long run, it is always pay. It will pay. When we genuinely pray to ourselves and with our understanding, with the best intention of that person's benefit, guide them and advise them. That's regarding these kind of things. If it is two different individuals from our own congregation, the systems are set in place to actually educate people. This is not the way. Just like as I told, that mentor and the counselor example. So there was an etiquette. If somebody is telling and said, have you already asked what did that person say? Even inter-temple, sometimes one devotee came from that another temple and joined. He said, Prabhuji, वो लोग सब ऐसे लोग हैं, सब चोरी होता है उधर, सब चोर लोग हैं. आपका मंदिर बहुत अच्छा है, इसलिए मैं आया. Then I said, किसके नीचे तुम काम कर रहे थे? वो फलाना व्यक्ति. Then I called up that individual. I called up that person in that temple, who was like a very head person. Immediately this fellow started shaking. I said, प्रभु जी ये व्यक्ति आपके वहाँ से यहाँ आया है, आपके बारे में इसके बारे में क्या आपका मालूम है? And he started speaking right in front of him. Then he understood. Sometimes people play around with authorities just to gain what they want. So as Baldev Prabhu pointed out, if it is short-term benefit when we take a decision, in the long term we will have to pay back. But if you see genuinely what is best for that individual and do the needful, in the long run we see that he will develop respect for the congregation, for the individual who is preaching, for the whole process. Regarding Guru issue in terms of initiation, it's very, very clear that everyone who wants to get initiated in ISKCON should at least finish IDC, ISKCON Disciples course where they tell about all this, Shiksha Guru, Diksha Guru, Atma Pradarshana Guru, and all the principles, everything. Elaborately, quite elaborately, very detailed and very graphically detailed. That is one thing. And in spite of that, if some of them are trying to do, what can you do? Still, if you notice something is wrong, you can report to the authorities. This whole structure is there. Sometimes it was happening. 1 or 2 cases in Kolhapur happened where one particular spiritual master's secretary was left, right, center asking anyone not to come, and they were actually notorious guys here and who were initiated there. And they went through various temples and all that. So we wrote down a whole thing and sent a message to that spiritual master. Said these are the 3 cases. It was done like that. And to that authority secretary also to be said. And immediately letter came from there and he said, next time we want from your group a recommendation letter to be sent. Finished, we addressed that. It has to be dealt with in a very proper way, in a legal way, process that has been set up. It's still sometimes in the process we see sincere people misguided because of tug of war between 2 people, very immature. What can you do? You just feel sad, but you have to do it in a very proper way in the long run.
One last question.
Before a very, very sweet and wonderful surprise awaits you.
Thank you, Prabhu. My question is regarding in our congregation. There are some devotees who are coming from 5 to 10 years, and still they are going some different organization, and still coming. So whether we should consider him as a well-wisher and live like that, or on the mood of Krishna, whatever Krishna will do, then it will happen. And sometimes these same people who are asking, where you will come for this program, and when you go there, their philosophy is just like sometimes it's like blaspheming the Krishna also. So what should we do? Whether we should allow these people to communication or just leave it?
In my opinion, we present pure Krishna consciousness. Some people are always like that. They sometimes, I am amazed, I feel like they don't understand the philosophy also. They come here as a pious activity. They come to satsang programs as a pious activity. आज आपका हो गया, बुधवार को उधर होता है, गुरुवार को उस संस्था का होता है. मैं सब जगह जाता हूँ. मैं समदर्शी, पंडिता समदर्शी ना. They are like that. And I know in our science program, we used to have some people coming, very respectful. Next day they go there, they do their Saraswati Puja, and that prasad they would bring and give it to me. I said, wonderful, thank you so much. It was someone like that. They were well-wisher category. So accept them like that. Better that they are going elsewhere rather than coming here, getting initiated and creating havoc. So at the same time, we continue to present pure philosophy in a very interesting, relevant way to them. Then it's up to them.
Whatever they are doing, they are calling for their program.
So one way is when the group typically what happens is WhatsApp groups are formed, and in the WhatsApp group they then after some time start putting their own philosophy. So I think it is important that at the outset itself, when we add such people to the groups, we have to tell them that this is a Hare Krishna group and topics about Hare Krishna will be put up over here. If someone puts up any post, privately inform them that don't put such posts because this is related to our ISKCON temple. And gently, nicely we have to tell them, see, we don't attend their programs, they attend our. We have got connected with them because they came to our program. We are not expecting them to come, we are not forcing them to come, they are coming on their own. So same way, they can't expect us to come to their programs. If someone wants to go, we can't force them not to go. Someone from our group wants to go there, we can't force them to not to go. At the same time, we are giving our philosophy the best way we can, and based on that we Hare Krishna. So I think we'll end here.